with our citizens. For government to be able to do that, government may have to entice Ghanaians to bring their money to government. And government may have to do that when they increase the monetary policy rate. Indeed, the monetary policy rate is the rate that banks, if they are in need of funds, will go to central bank to take loans at that rate. In the past, government has been operating with an inflationary technique in managing the economy. That is, all the time, the monetary policy rate is higher than the inflation rate. But we have seen the inflation rate moving to 37.1 as at the time of July. 31. And then the 31.7. And then the monetary policy rate is around 19%. So we need to correct, government needs to correct that, and that is why they have to make sure that they move it up. From the rate that the inflation rate is moving up, if care is not taken, monetary policy rate will become useless within the country because nobody will trust that rate. And also, the treasury bill rate, which is also known to also be higher than the inflation rate, is the reverse, whereby the inflation rate is higher than the treasury bill rate. So, simply put, our financial system in terms of cost of funds and borrowing is becoming something that you cannot trust. So the central bank needs to have this meeting, make sure that they increase the monetary policy rate to bridge the gap between that rate and the inflation rate. So that is the essence in terms of government, from the government perspective.
Prof,
from the citizen perspective.
Right. Prof, I just wanted to say...
The citizen,
sorry, Prof. But you land your point.
From the perspective of the citizens,
right,
cost of living has, let me put it, is already high because of inflation. So government needs to find a way to address the cost of living mechanism. And one way to do that is when they use treasury bill rate. They compensate citizens when they bring their money to government in terms of savings. And that treasury bill rate, the underpinning point is also the monetary policy rate. So that rate needed to also to be increased. At this rate, we know that cost of living has become very high in the country. But these are some of the measures that are normally taken to cause a reverse of the high standard of living. That is why we are seeing these things happening. Indeed, the central bank should have taken this decision long ago, but they delayed. That's why we have seen the issue becoming very worse as we have it now.
Right, Prof. Some of the arguments out there have been that when the excuse of trying to mop up excess liquidity in the system, some people argue that there's no excess liquidity in the system. The inflation that we're experiencing is not as a result of that. So how is this going to work?
I mean, you cannot say that we don't have excess liquidity in the system because a lot of funds are moving in circulation within the country. And that is why central bank, with the help of government, trying to mop up this liquidity. So, for example, government is increasing salaries or have approved COLA. That COLA, which has been approved, is also going to cause excess liquidity within the country. So government may have to find a way to collect it back. That is why they use that approach. Also, we know that government itself has gone on a spree of spending above its means. So we can say that through government spending, there's a lot of funds which is circulating within the country. So government needs...
Prof, I think your line keeps cutting. I'm not sure if I can hear you properly. Prof, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now. The line has
Okay.
been a bit shaky, sorry.
Okay, so I was saying that the only way government can cause a reversal, they cannot do anything but just follow what is done, is written in the books. The books in literature, what it says that anytime you're having a high inflation, which is caused by excess supply of funds within your country, you find a way to get it back into the government chest. And you do that by increasing your rates. That is the interest rate. That is what is happening. Government has increased salaries. Government is doing a lot of projects, which is also putting money in the system. The way to get it back to them is use the interest rate. If we really want to stop in my perspective, to stop this inflation, government may have to slow down its spending. The spending in terms of the capital expenditure items, and then also discretionary and non-discretionary spending. Simply put, all expenditure items within the country must be intentionally slowed so that it will allow funds flowing within the country to slow down. If government is focusing on development, it may have to take a pause.
Right.
Because any development they want to do means that they have to go and borrow. So you cut, simply put, cut your coat according to your size. You may have to live within our means.
Prof, one of the direct consequences of this, people are saying, is going to be an increase in the cost of credit, which is going to stifle businesses further.
So I know that currently all the banks, commercial banks in Ghana, they don't price their product or they don't give loans based on the rate of the monetary policy rate. Even they are not even using the treasury bill rate because the treasury bill rate is higher than the monetary policy bill rate. Every bank that is giving loan will make sure that they get a return more than inflation rate, which is now 31.7. So already cost of credit has gone up. Anytime inflation is going up, the cost of credit goes up. So we cannot say that the monetary policy rate is the one going to cause it. Inflation is the one driving all these factors. So we may have to find a better way to slow down the growth in the inflation rate.
Prof, what's the better way? We've seen inflation almost galloping in the last few months. What's the easiest way to slow it down? Because if there's an easy way out, you would expect that something brilliant would occur to government, but we haven't seen any specific moves towards that.
So if you ask me, I mentioned it, the way to slow it down. Okay, so in Ghana, the central government is the highest spender. So the only way out to slow it down is that when government decides that we are going to slow down our own development agenda. Simply put, government may have to drastically reduce its own plans.
Right.
A plan like the Abankase, which is the Agenda 111, building 100 hospitals. We don't have the money. Government may have to look at that one. Already there's discussion about the school feeding program, which others are talking of a review that will bring cost reduction. There is also the talk about this cathedral project. Government may have to look at it. If it's not, they may have to reduce or stop or pause. That decision must be taken. An important factor is also pumping money into some development which will not bring returns. We may have to look at some of the projects which are not be able to pay for themselves, not to put money in those projects, because we need to cut our coat according to our sizes.
Thank you, Prof. Let me just go to the line where we have Elvis Darko, who is a seasoned journalist. Elvis, when you heard that the MPC had increased the policy rate, factoring in 300 basis points and settling on 22%, what was your initial reaction, especially since there have been months in which, periods in which we've seen a review, but the bank has stayed on the previous policy rate? There seems to be some change happening now. Sorry, Elvis, I can't hear you. Maybe unmute yourself. Hello? Yes, there you go.
Okay. I said that I wasn't surprised by the increase in the policy rate, in the sense that, as listed by the central bank itself, inflation is still rising. If you look at all the economic indicators, it shows that something needs to be done to control inflation and also directly have an impact on the depreciating cedi. And if you look at all that is already in existence and you factor in the new utility bills that are taking effect from 1st September, it is obvious that if the Bank of Ghana decide not to increase the interest rate, there will be a huge spike in inflation figure. And therefore, the Bank of Ghana needs to do something to make sure that even if there will be an increase in the inflation figure, it will not be that big. And I think that is why the central bank did that. Because if you look at the inflation we are talking about, though crude oil prices are going down in the world market, we are seeing an increase in fuel prices. And we know that once fuel prices go up, it affects almost everything. And therefore, you just have to realize that inflation was actually going to go up if something is not done. Even with the 300 basis points, surely inflation will go up, but probably the percentage will be lower. So it was clear that the Bank of Ghana has to act. And I was also surprised that they did that in an emergency meeting. And if you observe, you realize that the emergency meeting was held soon after the announcement of increment in utility bills, because the central bank realized that that is an inflation point. And therefore, they have to wait till the next meeting before they do something, things will get out of hand. So for me, the increase in the prime rate and the increase in the reserve requirement for the banks are all measures that the central bank is looking at to actually ensure that there is some level of control on inflation. And that, for me, is the only thing to do. However, the negative aspect of this is that we are increasing the cost of credit to everybody, including industry. And we all know that the cost of credit in this country is very expensive. Even before this increase, banks are giving loans to a minimum of about 24%. That's what you get on the market. So if we are seeing a 300 basis point, and we all know that the policy rate is one of the factors that the banks use to determine their interest that they charge on the loan. So for me, the other side of it is that we should expect that cost of credit to private sector and ordinary people will definitely go up. Right now, if you have a mortgage in foreign currency, you will be getting text messages from your bank that the rate has gone up because the dollar is up and the cedi is down. So for me, I think that the Bank of Ghana did what it has to do. And the expectation is that even if inflation will go up, the percentage will be lower. If the depreciation of the cedi will even continue, the percentage will be lower. So I think it is the right step that has been taken. But we all know that that is not the main solution for our crisis as a country. We all know that the economy, as we see it, has fundamental issues that we need to address, which up to now, as a country, we are finding it difficult to really address. And until we address those fundamental challenges of the economy, any sneeze, any little shake-up in the global settings will definitely have a serious effect on all of us, especially emerging economies. And therefore, I think that as we are talking about these things that are happening, the question we should be asking ourselves is, what really are we doing to ensure that we act in a way that will build the economy in a manner that these shocks from the global economy will not have that much impact on us? I think that is where the focus should be.
Right. Thank you so much, Elvis Darko. I have so many more questions on this particular topic, but we need to move on. Yesterday, we found out that security personnel had moved to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, in Kumasi, to prevent a clash between residents of the University Hall, Katanga, and Unity Hall, Konti, as they're popularly called, from escalating. These disturbances had started earlier in the evening and continued for quite a while, with private properties and some of other people's properties being vandalized by the students. This is not the first of its kind recently. There was another one in Legon. Let me just go to Mr. Maxwell Ofori, who is from the Chronicle. He's a journalist from the Chronicle. He's on the line. Maxwell.
Hello.
Yes, is it normal for us to be experiencing these disturbances in universities? Is it even possible for us to pinpoint exactly why we are seeing so many university clashes in such a short time?
On the contrary, it's rather quite unfortunate to be seeing such incidences on our tertiary campuses, given that these students are there to acquire knowledge at the expense of their parents' investments. So for their parents to be home and see videos of their children engaging in chaos, resulting in distractions, would be unpleasant news to them. The question that would arise would be, what would be the end of their stay on campus? But then, given all these situations, we'd also want to go to the root of these campus clashes in the name of force and then traditions. And then you try to understand why it occurs frequently. I've seen this week from Katanga and the Konti issue, and I asked myself, uh, who is not doing what? Are there people that you have to take on, probably dismiss or not allow them to do one or two things to end those things? Or what is really causing the continuous chaos on our campuses? This is not the first time, and I can bet my last coin that it's not going to be the last time, given how vibrant these youth are. But I would think that the management of tertiary institutions should do more if they are really working to ensure the seizure of these clashes. Because if we are lucky and just properties are destroyed, we can say, after all, we didn't lose a life. But are we going to say the same thing when we lose a life, or should we wait till we continue to lose lives out of this force, and then later, who are we going to blame?
Yeah,
So for
Maxwell.
me, yes.
Let's look at some of the solutions that have been preferred for this particular development. I mean, the police move in sometimes. We also have, you mentioned maybe to dismiss some of the people that are causing these situations, but there's been other suggestions that say we need to approach it from a more psychosocial angle to try to understand what is triggering it and, you know, approach it softly instead of strong-handedly.
So I mentioned that if authorities are doing something, then perhaps they would have to do more to understand why those things are happening and find a way to solve it. But I believe we've been following these issues. There have been moves, even from old students, alumni, trying to solve the issue. What has been the results of those negotiations? So if they try to use amicable solution and it seems not to work, then they should look at another step of trying to solve it. Recently, we had the mixed hall adding the female to the male hall, which one of the reasons was that probably it will reduce the violence. But this recent one is telling us that that is not going to solve that problem. So if we want to solve it amicably, do we really understand the genesis of this whole clash? And if we do, who and who do we think we can bring together to ensure we solve this issue? Is it the hall masters? Is it the students' body? What is the SRC doing? And then the management itself, how can they come together? And if really they can, for the past years that we've been witnessing this issue, what has been the results of their steps? Because we cannot always come periodically or regularly to discuss these same issues. Day in, day out, they are destroying properties. Who pays for them? And what is going to happen in the future? My only fear is that we don't sit for people to die almost always out of this issue.
Right. Thank you, Maxwell Ofori, who is a journalist with the Chronicle newspaper. Let me just go to our security expert, Adib Sani, who's on the line. Adib, I believe you will have a better understanding of this from the security angle. What exactly are we seeing? Is it a failure of intelligence gathering? Why are these things springing on us out of the blue?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's not out of the blue, no. It's something that has been happening for some time. Just that, unfortunately, on this occasion, it's becoming so rapid. You know, the frequency within such a short time is what is garnering the attention. I went through the same system at the University of Ghana. I was a vandal, and still a vandal, by the way. I was the Commonwealth Hall, and during my time, I witnessed two similar clashes between Commonwealth Hall, or even more, you know, between Commonwealth Hall and Mensa Saba Hall. So that should tell you that it's been around for some time. Unfortunately, our strategy towards dealing with the issue hasn't really been helpful. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, is the height of, you know, incompetence. And we've been doing the same thing. And the fact that it is not changing the status quo means that we are failing to deal with the fundamental issues. We enjoy dealing with it superficially. However, it is important to understand what the real issues are before we'll be able to get the solutions.
Adib, how can we understand the students better?
Good. I think one of the ways is to engender the trust and confidence of the students. So student-authority relations, I must say, is not progressive enough. Even though there's SRC representative on some councils, on some, you know, bodies put together administratively, I think they don't really do much. DSS, for the school authorities to come say, okay, we decided on this, so we're going to implement. That's it. But to what extent do we seek their opinion? To what extent do we talk to them? Or do we just assume they are kids and don't understand anything and would have to do the thinking and the decision making for them? Because I feel that if there's a better interaction regime between the students on one hand and the school authorities, they would get to understand their menacing challenges. They would get to preempt some of these things because they understand what the issues are on the ground and what the state of mind of the students are. Even at home, before we do anything, my 5-year-old daughter, I consult her. You know, the last time I wanted to leave my beard, I asked her, she said, no, it doesn't look good, you know. So let's not assume that they are children and not get them to be part of the administration process. It makes them more useful. It makes them more responsible and responsive to some of the emergent issues on the university campus once they are part and parcel of that process. Secondly, I think we've not gathered enough intelligence. I remember our time, we used to go to lectures with intelligence officers. We bathed in the same washrooms with them. We slept in the same rooms with them, but they were gathering intelligence. I don't know whether that system is still in place, but it really helps because with intelligence officers around, they are able to tell what is happening. Do you know there are some countries in which students were able to overthrow regimes? So university campuses are an important subset so far as our security architecture is concerned. So when we have enough intelligence, they'll be able to preempt and prevent a lot of these clashes on one hand. On the other hand, they'll be able to help us determine or detect who the real trouble causers are, so we are able to deal with them rigorously and vigorously. And another issue is the issue of impunity. I think it's just becoming too much. We make them think the university environment grants them immunity, and a lot of them have that false delusional sense of invincibility, and that they can do whatever they like and get away with it. We would have to change the status quo by dealing with students who fall foul of the law rigorously and vigorously, like we would do outside the school environment. But the problem is, and this is very important, no, for years on end, if a student falls foul of the law, we make him go through the school disciplinary process. So you would face the disciplinary committee, and the worst that can happen to you is for you to be dismissed. We have students who are rusticated or suspended and all that. But if there's any criminal culpability, we don't need to shield. We let the person go through just as anyone does when he destroys property, cars, buildings outside of the school environment. We need to start dealing with these miscreants on campus like common criminals, unless they are minors. But being a minor doesn't also mean you are invincible. There are still processes. I'm not a lawyer, but I know we have Booster institutes and all that. We need to send a clear message to these students that, hey, we are all, within the law, and whatever you do, we'll just conveniently hand you over to the police. I think by so doing, we will help instill discipline going forward.
Right. Thank you so much, Adib. Adib Sani is a seasoned security analyst there. Let me go and speak with Professor Pipra. I just want to find out from you, Prof, for this particular incidences that we're looking at, especially since they are on campuses and you're a lecturer. We also see that there is a breakdown in the relationship between school authorities and these students. How do we promote a better relationship over there?
Thank you very much. So I think that we may have to look at what we call a theory of change in terms of our educational curriculum, and also put a good relationship between the students and the lecturers, and then the staff as well. It will surprise you to know that though we are seeing this in Ghana, outside the world too, there is this challenge also in the university communities. It requires that we may have to change our curriculum to be able to discuss how to tolerate each other within a given situation. So if you look at what's happened there, currently it's just a misunderstanding of ideas, philosophies, which has been historical, but we need to find a proper way to change this kind of mentality that a hall or a school is noted to be strong when they are more, they can vandalize properties or others.
Right.
We may move up that point and say that, can we look at a way to change the mindset of the students?
Right.
They are the future leaders. And if they behave this way, we don't know what will happen in the future.
Thank you, Prof. How to change the mindset and tolerate each other better. I went to Legon, and these disturbances were normal, I mean, occasionally. But to see it happen in such rapid succession, I mean, from Legon to KNUST seems quite disturbing. Let me find out from Elvis. Did you go to any of these schools, Elvis? Elvis, are you on the line? You're muted again. Elvis, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was asking if you went to any of these schools.
No, I went to Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Right. Elvis, are these incidences directly connected to the occurrences within the university, or can they be in any way influenced by external factors?
It's just a reflection of the breakdown of law and order in the country. where people break the law and we don't apply the law to punish them. That is the country we are living in. People do the wrong things. Instead of applying the law to deal with them, you will be seeing pastors, opinion leaders, politicians, malams, chiefs being brought in to come and plead on behalf of people who have committed criminal acts and should be prosecuted. And therefore, people don't get prosecuted. KNEC we are discussing today, why are we discussing it? Because last year, a similar incident happened. Tell me who has been sent to jail or has been made to face any court for what happened last year. We covered it up, and we think that when we cover it up, that means the solution is found. No, it will happen and will continue to happen until we take a strong stance against criminality in public universities. Those days and weeks and whatever celebrations and events on campus are supposed to be free, safe, and non-violent. So the moment it turns violent, the culprit must be fished out, made to face the law. That is the precedent we need to set for people to know that when they mess up, they will not be spared. But so long as we allow these things to go, it will continue to happen. So don't even be surprised if next week it happens in another public university. It will still happen because they know that when it happens, nobody is going to be punished. No student is going to be punished severely. Nobody will face the court, and the court will make pronouncements to serve as a deterrent for anybody who wants to do that in the future. So for me, in this country, we all want the country to progress. We want the right things to be done. But truth is that in reality, we don't want the country to progress because we are the very people who will go and intervene to prevent the law from being applied to people who have breached the law.
Right.
Is this what happens in the Ivy League universities? Is this how students behave in Yale, Harvard, Columbia, London School of Economics? Is that how students behave there? If this is how students behave there, will people be aspiring to go to those schools? So truth is that until we take a firm decision and say that violence on campus is a criminal activity and the police must be allowed to investigate and prosecute the culprits, these things will continue to happen. It's as simple as ABCD.
Thank you, Elvis. Elvis is thinking there should be a more strong-handed approach to curbing these disturbances, making sure that the culprits are properly disciplined. I guess there'll have to be some, strong-handed security reactions and also some soft psychosocial approach. A blend of these, I'm sure, will yield some very good results eventually. But let's just move on quickly to Bawku, where there's been some alleged murder of 2 people who were purported to be witches. I'm going to go to Senyala Castro, who is a journalist, and he's going to give us an update of that situation so we can take a proper look at it. Castro, are you on the line? Hello, Castro.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Can you just take us through what's happening in Bawku?
Yes, so the issue of the attack on the vehicle that led to the killing of 3 persons and 2 additional members or occupants of the vehicle sustaining injuries in their legs happened, some days ago. And we understand that it happened between the Bawku Technical School, Institute, and that of the Bawku Secondary School. The attackers were told attacked or stopped the vehicle and shot sporadically into the vehicle, killing 3 persons and then injuring the driver and a 5th occupant. Very little information is known about this incident. The police are yet to issue statements, almost going to 3 days or 4 days into the incident. Local authorities have also said very little or nothing about the incident. It is quite unclear what the attack, or what caused the attack or what led to the attack. But we understand it may have linkage or a linkage to the age-long, tribal conflict within between two feeding tribal tribes in the Boko municipality. Security is, has been beefed up like it has always been done. Whenever incident or an attack is recorded, the military and that of the police, in fact, the joint police military team in the municipality act or rush to scenes and do the best they can to make sure that issues or the attacks don't escalate. So as we speak now, calm has returned to Boko. Businesses have bounced back to, and running. Have bounced back and running, and also people are going about their lives as if nothing happened. And so this is briefly what I can say about the Boko issue.
Castro, you also understand that these people have since been buried, but has anyone been arrested in connection to this?
Yes, so like I rightly said, local authorities have not even said anything. Even the police, the police who are supposed to communicate, to the public,
give an update.
Some sort of, revelations that have come out of their investigations, have not said anything and have not, issued any statement. And this is not the first time we are experiencing that. In the past, there have been attacks, but the police hardly make statements on, or issue statements on such attacks. So as we speak now, we don't know whether some persons have been arrested or some suspects have been picked up in connection with the attack or not. But we are hoping that since the police have assured to always maintain peace in the area, they will be proactive and then make some arrests, because there's since been growing fear within, among residents in the area, especially those around the highway. The highways, there's a spot, that spot where the incident happened is called highways. So there's growing fear among residents, especially those living around the highways, because this should be the third time or second time an attack has happened there. And residents who wouldn't want to speak on record or who we get to speak to on normal conversations, keep telling us that they're living in fear because they don't know when the attacks would stop or the insecurity situation in Boko will be improved.
Castro, if you can also just speak to this situation where some persons were denied bail by 7 persons specifically because they were standing trial over their involvement in the death of 2 individuals who were branded as witches and murdered in Yamariga in the Talinsi district specifically. Do you have an update on that?
Yes, so I'm yet to get the full details from the regional crime officer who I have been, for at least 2 days now. Yes, the incident of the witchcraft was recorded in Yamariga, as rightly said. 2 persons reportedly died, and an old woman and a man, also an old man. We understand that they were given a concoction to take to prove their innocence, and when they did, after they were encouraged and pushed, compelled to drink the concoction, but they lost their lives right after drinking the concoction. The old lady passed on, and later on the man also died. And so the Yamariga community has been on top of the news in the region, recently or of late. Yes, some arrests have been made in connection with the alleged killing of the supposed witches. But the police, as the police have told you earlier, are yet to make a statement on that too. And we don't know whether the 7 who were denied bail have since been granted bail or are still in police custody, and what have come out of investigations. But we're still on it, and when I do get some information, I'll finish your house.
Thank you so much, Castro. Very eventful few days and few weeks in the Upper East region in Boko. Adib, are you still on the line? I would have liked for you to react to this particular incident, and since they are security related. But I think I can't seem to get your line. Let me just go to our journalist on the line. Maxwell.
Yeah.
Yes, Maxwell, you've been listening to the update from Castro. What do you think is happening in Boko there?
It's quite worrying. Getting reports from Boko, and let me first take the killing of that involved the vehicle, the passengers in the vehicle that were killed. It's not a new thing, and whoever wants to be frank with the truth would know that it goes into chieftaincy issue. We're talking of this Kusasi and Mampusi issue, which is as old as Ghana, and I believe that it's about time authorities nip the bud, like work around it to solve the issue, because we are talking of loss of lives, properties, and the state is also wasting resources. It is not a joke providing security in even places where there are no conflicts, talk less conflict-prone areas. So it is time that authorities find an amicable solution to this whole long-standing feud. But my worry is the floodgates we are opening for tourists to take advantage of the conflict. We have news, threats of terrorist attacks. And you know where Boko is situated, it is very easy for these bad guys to take advantage of the situation in Boko to map up their strategy to attack the country. So at this time of heightened threats, we should not be entertaining clashes from both sides. But who is ready to bring these two sections together to solve the whole issue? And I would suggest that probably an independent body is set up to talk to the community for them to voice out their issue, what really the issues are, and then they find a way to meet them halfway. You see, at this point, the only solution may be compromises. People would have to compromise for peace to prevail, because if they are able to compromise for peace to prevail, all monies government is spending to ensure security in Boko could be channeled into developing the place. It is quite unfortunate that that part of the country, excuse my words, is not well developed.
Is
But
it
at the
true?
back
Yeah.
of this underdevelopment is this same chaos. Before you realize, buildings are burnt, even people, the manpower that will work for the place to be developed are now afraid. People are locked up in their homes, according to reports we are getting. People are locked up in their homes. Families, some have even fled the place, and it's not a good spectacle. One, for the people in the area. Two, for the country Ghana. And then three, for the fact that we need to develop and help the community, the town to grow. And this weight issue, I am worried that in this age, in this era, we are still killing people because we think they are witches. How? How should this continue to happen? On what basis? Is it the look of the people, or how? How did they come about the fact that these people are witches? And if they are witches, what rights does the people have to kill them or put them under inhumane treatment? I think whoever is involved in this killing should be held responsible, made to face the full rigors of the law. And this time, like Elvis pointed out in his earlier submission, we shouldn't have pastors, malams, politicians going to plead on their behalf. Because if you do that, it means you are sending a signal to other person that they can do same, and when they are caught, people can come and then plead
beg,
on their behalf.
Yeah.
Yes. So the law should deal with whoever is involved in the killing of these two people just because they think they are witches. They are witches. And so we should kill them. And what laws are there to say that if somebody is a witch? This is a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue, but it doesn't mean you can physically attack them. If you want to attack them spiritually. But once you want to attack them physically, then the human rights laws will also have to be applied such that you are made to face the law and all sanctions or punishments are meted out to you.
Thank you so much, Maxwell Fori. That's quite a mouthful. Let me just go to the topic that started the week, and that's the increase in utility tariffs that was announced by the PURC, 27.15% and 21.55% in electricity and water, respectively. The PURC we did have them on the program earlier in the week, and they explained that this was a compromise because they had to satisfy both consumers and the service providers. In fact, the increase fell much below what service providers had initially requested. Nonetheless, there have been some reactions to it. Some of the reactions think that this is a very friendly increment, as it's not as high as would have been expected. Some people, of course, also think that this is the wrong time for such an increment. In fact, Arise Ghana has been calling for the immediate suspension of these increments. Are their calls justified? Let me find out from Elvis Darkon.
Well, the truth of the matter is that if you want to be fair to the situation, we all will admit that following the Ukraine and Russian crisis, globally, energy prices have gone up significantly everywhere in the world. Crude oil prices have gone up significantly. Gas prices have gone up significantly. These are the fuel used to generate electricity. And therefore, if you look at it from that perspective, you will say, well, the increment is justified. However, if you look at the whole issue of tariff increment in this country, you want to question the increment, because year in, year out, when utility tariffs are to be increased, we are giving promises that we are giving them the increase so that they can improve on their performance. They can do well, they can become more efficient. And Ghanaians have consistently bought into this narrative and accepted to pay increments in tariffs. But the big question is, have we seen any significant improvement in the performance of these companies? If you look at the 2020 State Ownership Report, it tells you that the Ghana Water Company alone made losses worth 900 million Ghana cedis in 1 year. 1 year. 900 million Ghana losses incurred by Ghana Water Company. If you read the same report about the Electricity Company of Ghana, they made losses worth 13.1 billion Ghana cedis in 5 years. Between 2017 and 2021, ECG has made losses worth 13.1 billion. Out of this 13.1 billion, 4.1 billion are monies that people consume power and have not paid ECG. And ECG actually know these people, but for whatever reason, has failed or refused to collect the money. So you ask yourself, if ECG is able to collect even 2 billion out of the 4 billion that people owe, will there be the need for us to increase tariffs for ECG? If you read the Auditor General's report for 2020, it says that the Electricity Company of Ghana has bought meters worth 60 million Ghana cedis, and the meters were defective and they packed them in a warehouse. Same report says Accra East ECG alone, material supplies to them to work, they could not account for materials worth 179 million Ghana cedis. So if you are reading all these losses and inefficiencies and waste by these institutions, and you are told that we need to increase tariffs, you want to question the justification for these tariffs. You see, we cannot continue to pile up pain on Ghanaians whilst the institutions remain so inefficient and continue to make huge losses. It has to go down to the policymakers. It will come to a time, if we are not careful in this country, majority of Ghanaians will reject any person coming to collect any tariff from them because people will be overburdened.
Thank you, Elvis.
And that is something we have to look out for. But what I am excited about this particular decision by the PURC is the fact that for the first time, we are doing the right thing by ensuring that industry pays less compared to domestic consumers. When the electricity market, it is just established principle that the cost of extending power to a bulk purchaser, everything about it is less expensive compared to domestic.
Thank you, Elvis.
And you need to be employed, and industry has to be in existence to employ you. So I'm happy about that, and I want us to continue with that. People have signed bad power agreements that have left us with $1 billion of capacity charges every year for power we don't consume.
Okay, Elvis,
and this
thank you.
It pass off the consumer. How justified is it?
Thank you, Elvis. Thank you so much. That's a great note to end on. I think Elvis is on the side of Arise Ghana then. Hopefully, we see better service from these utility service providers to justify the increases in tariffs. My name is Nwong Falong, and this is Spotlight on MX24 Television. We've had quite a hearty discussion with Mr. Elvis Darko, who's a seasoned journalist with the Finder newspaper. That was him just landing there on the last point. Adib Sani, who is a security expert. Mr. Maxwell Fori, a journalist with the Chronicle newspaper. You heard him previously. Senyola Castro, who gave us an update on the issues in Boko there, and Professor Williams Pipra, who is a lecturer at Andrews University, professor at the finance department specifically. To you at home, on behalf of everything here at everyone here at MX24 Television, we are grateful for your time. See you again, same time Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.